My philosophy is to put as little tension as possible on the instrument. It's an instrument you sort of coax music out of. So you want it to be very delicate and light, and you want it to be really responsive. So when the bow plays a string, it just sort of pops out right away. And in order to achieve that quality, I like to keep the instrument light, the mass of the wood as low as possible, and then the tension on the instrument as low as possible. So everything is just kind of just ready to jump out and make sound when the bow hits it.
He is an expert in the field. He's one of the best. Internationally, he's one of the best.
My name is Dan Larson, Daniel Larson technically, but everybody calls me Dan. And I make musical instruments and strings for musical instruments. There we go, that looks about right. What I focus on is the early form of the violin. So the way the violin would have looked and been played in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries. So this will be the face of the instrument that the strings will go over. The bridge will eventually get glued down here, and the strings will go over it. And this rosette is a decoration. Since the lute was imported into the West from the East, it started off as an Arabic instrument, or Persian instrument technically back in the day. Instruments are largely made of details. The rough work is pretty basic, but you get down to the fine details of the instruments pretty quickly, and it's the fine work that creates the character of the instrument, I think.
The most important part is who's building it, how experienced are they, what level are they at. The next is what model is it, what is it modeled after. The signature quality would be on the joint work, the joinery of it, and just the joints that are so perfect. Those are the factors that make it a Larson. It sings in a certain way, and it's even from the top to the bottom.
When somebody like Ed comes in and sits down and plays one of my instruments for me in an informal setting especially, it's extremely pleasurable. It sort of closes that experience of making it really for me, because I'm not a musician myself, I can't play, so I don't have that ability to use the instrument as it was intended to be used, and to hear somebody do that is certainly very thrilling. I enjoy that very much.
It's all a process of learning to recreate this beautiful music. And in order to recreate the music, you need somebody who can set you up with the right instrument, the right strings. And it's kind of odd that we have a person that can do both.
The string workshop next door is a much bigger, much more industrial kind of process by nature. In the 60s and 70s, when we were trying to establish the idea of a historical reproduction instrument being a viable instrument that could perform and be listened to in a concert hall, one of the biggest criticisms we had was just they didn't sound very good. And one of the reasons they didn't sound very good was because the strings we had weren't very good. And so I reached a decision where I thought, well, if these instruments are going to work, the only way they're going to work is if we have appropriate strings for them, which led me down this whole rabbit hole in researching and trying to rediscover how strings were made in the 16th and 17th century. And that's where the string workshop came from.
And I'm just looking for any imperfections in the gut, or anything that I got to clean out before I twist it.
The process itself is so intricate. Like from the very beginning, you just get this raw salted product in.
And I'm trying to get the tension right for the size string that these are.
We got 2 different kinds, our beef and our sheep, and each one requires a little bit different work, and every step he figured out.
It's just fussy to work with. You can't force it to do anything it doesn't want to do. So. These are just 6 strands, but I mean, you could do 20 strands or 30 strands. They're actually going to shrink as they dry and turn kind of clear and golden.
It's literally a 2-week to 1 month long process just to get it from raw gut to out here.
The strings that the workshop is making now are just the best that we've ever made, and I think some of the best in the world. They're just remarkable quality that they make. So that's a tremendous success, and that's something that I've worked on for 25, 30 years to get to this point, to make strings as reliable as they are now. The process of making a living as an instrument maker is really, really difficult. It always has been difficult. So what I've tried to do over the years is to create as diverse range of products as we can offer, and then that means that the business just has a better chance of making it. This is an interesting project. This is an instrument that's going to an English violin player by the name of Adrian Chandler, and he is a musician that specializes in the music of Vivaldi. So Adrian wanted specifically an instrument that was modeled on an instrument that would have been made in Vivaldi's time. Problem is, there's not a lot of extant Italian instruments from that period. I had to imagine how this instrument would have been constructed in Stradivari's workshop. And I hope that he likes it and it meets his approval and his expectations, and then he'll make hopefully beautiful music on it. We provide a very important service, I think, for musical people around the world, all over the United States and Canada and South America and Europe and Japan and China. Now we're beginning to sell a little bit in China even, so we send things all over the world, and it's just a very pleasant occupation for us all.